There's a real problem with the gaming industry. There's no doubt about it. With almost 12,000 layoffs in 2024, it's a problem. I mean, 2023 was like at 10,000 or some case maybe, but it is probably on pace to be maybe around 13, 14, and no telling, maybe even 15,000 people laid off in 2024. That's crazy. So I was just sitting back and I was just thinking, okay, looking at the people that are losing their jobs, which is very unfortunate, versus the games that are coming out for 2024 and 2025. Well, just a little bit of 2025. How the gaming industry is going. Is it really that bad? Is it something really going on? Is it just going through a serious correction? So I'm gonna give you my thoughts and opinions on that, and we're just gonna go from there. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I really appreciate everybody who come through to watch and listen and give feedback to the videos that I make. I definitely thank you guys. You guys are absolutely awesome. Made it over 700 subs. We're trying to get to 1,000 by the end of the year. So if you don't mind interacting with the video, like, share, subscribe. If you don't mind giving me some feedback in the comment section, I usually respond to any type of criticism or just some any type of feedback. I really really do, and I want to thank you guys for making it here. So let's get into this now. Like I said, it's a lot of layoffs in 2024, but there's a lot of games that are coming out as well for 2024. Well, presumably, because you don't know if any game could be delayed or whatever the case may be. Overall, I'm not going to say like the games that came out in 2024 were great, but I will say most of the games that came out are worth playing. I mean, I will say that at least giving a shot. Is that good enough? I'm not going to say it is because most of the time, when games that come out, I feel like pretty much every game should be actually worth buying, not just worth playing, because that's two different things. Because spending your money is one thing, actually playing the game is another, but that's a whole different story. When I was growing up back in the 90s and the early 2000s, there were a time where there were some pretty bad games out because of the tech and just bad some bad ideas. But when you look back on them, there's just more incredible games that were coming out then, and most of them were like worth buying, even at the higher price that they were. Because back then, some games were like $70. It was a pretty expensive back then. The rate that for inflation now, you can see what type of the games, how much they cost. But nowadays, the games that are coming out today, I will say that they're worth playing. You should give them a shot. Are they worth the price? I don't know, because all these games have certain caveats into them now. And even though there are a lot of games coming out now, and some of these games are absolutely, riddled with, extra monetization because the industry needs to make more money. So when you start seeing games like a Madden 25, or you start seeing some games like Call of Duty, or even, some of these newer games that are coming out that are live service, you start to sit back and be like, all right, what am I doing here? Like Star Wars just came out. The new Star Wars game just came out. Some of these games are like, all right, what are we doing? Concord, I heard that was, maybe going to be a good game. I haven't heard much about it. But there was another game that came out recently that people are like really, beating up on that came out for PlayStation. A live service game didn't do too well. Maybe it was Concord. I don't know what game it was because I don't play live service games. But it just seems like a lot of those games are trying to come out still, and they're flopping left and right. You see the whole situation with Destiny. That live service game, as long as it lasted, I'm not going to say the game is crashing, but the people that was among the developer Bungie, that whole company has a problem now. So now I'm looking at the whole industry in general, like, all right, what are we doing here when you start looking at games down the road? I really feel like the releases should continue to come. I'm not going to sit here and say that they shouldn't, but I feel like there needs to be a real correction with the format of games. You see some games that are coming out, a lot of remasters are coming out, and a lot of games that are trying to be you know based on what the games used to be almost 2 generations ago, and those seem to work. I've been playing a lot of games from back in that era, like the 2000s, mid 2000s, and those games just give me a lot of joy. And I'm like, okay, what game that's going to come out now that's going to give me that type of feeling? What type of game that's going to come out where I could have fun playing that game? Is Wukong going to be that game? Stellar Blade gave me a really good feeling, where I played those type of games where it felt like the format was very similar to a good uh, a campaign or a good story or just a good gameplay where you just didn't mind playing and actually enjoying. The Tamba Special Edition, that's an old game that's coming out. That's going to be really cool. You still have what's the other game that I thought it was going to come out? That's Visions of Mana. That's an RPG that's going to be really good. That's coming out later. Then you go later on down in the year where you have what Dead Rising Deluxe Remastered. That's coming out. Ace Attorney the Investigations Collection, Astrobot, which I think is going to be really good. Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom supposed to come out later. So you have a lot of releases that are coming out later on this year that could be somewhat of a, it's a few games that could come out to actually spend some good time playing. And, on top of all the stuff that we're playing, the retro stuff, the 360 stuff, because I'm playing a good bit of games on my 360 now, or just playing on the Xbox Series that were 360 games. You have a good bit of games to play. The upcoming game releases, I don't know. They're not that exciting, but they're, I will say a handful of them are worth playing. And I think, is that good enough? Is that good enough? I'm not really sure, because of the way that the market is structured now. Seems like all these companies have to hit a home run every single time, and that's not really viable. I think some of these companies just need to realize that, look, we just need to make a profit and keep building off what we have. And I think that's where the correction can come in, where you start having these games that, double A titles that just make a solid game, and the game is actually pretty good, and they build off of that. Maybe what's going to happen with Stellar Blade? Or are they going to get will they get a sequel? You got all these other games that, you don't want it to be like a Days Gone where you don't get that. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of stuff that I try to think about when I look at the video game industry. I feel like it's in a good space, but it's only in a good space for the gamer. I think for us, we're getting pretty decent games. I'm not saying they're all high quality, because there's some games out here that, like, yeah, well, what are we doing? But I think for us, it's a good time to game yet again for the gamer. A lot of these games out now are pretty solid. They're okay, and with the companies now that have to retrack and make some differences, they're gonna. I feel like they're gonna be forced to make some more user friendly stuff, because every time you turn around, the live service stuff is just not working. The customer, the gamer is not responding well to that. They're going to have to say, all right, we're going to have to make some changes as far as making, real, games that with some substance. And there are some out there that are doing it, and it's, they're getting some pretty good praise. You just don't hear about them a lot. A lot of companies, or a lot of games just don't get that type of exposure for the most part. But I will say this, I will say this: you can find a few games. I've named a couple of them earlier. You can find some good games that you will have a really good time with, and I think for us, the industry is fine, but the industry itself, they're hurting. They're hurting pretty bad, And I just think by maybe, I would say 2025 they might get hit again, but I just think that it will make a correction by the end of next year at the latest. At the end of next year, it'd be a full blown correction, or maybe by the time the end of this gaming generation, where you have the next PlayStation, Xbox, or even Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo's doing okay, but even with Nintendo, you'll probably see a really good correction to where things will get back to where you'll start to see an uptick in how the industry is growing and not contracting. I mean, yeah, that's what my thoughts on it is. I mean, but like right now, on the average, you're seeing like 50 people getting laid off on, pretty much every day in 2024. I'm just looking at this art. I'm just looking at this tracker right here. I'll put the link down in the description. You can check it. I mean, it started in the beginning of the year, January 1st, and 2018, 500. 40, 50, 1900 at Blizzard, 900 at PlayStation Studios on February 22nd, I mean 27th. You had another 25, at certain Infinity, Singularity 6, 49, Take Two Interactive, 600 in April. Bethesda France 15 in April. Arcane Austin 60 in May. I mean, it just it's just rolling and rolling and rolling. So I mean, like I said, on an average, I'm looking at maybe what 45 to 50 people, per closure. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, just a couple of 10 days ago, Jam City lost 85, Bungie 220, 731. Humble Games lost 36. It's crazy, but let me know what y'all think. I know I'm probably rambling a little bit, and how do y'all feel about the industry itself? I think it's okay, but it's only okay for us, the gamer. We're winning, big time. We're always winning with all these games being released, and they're gonna have to do something to fix themselves on their end, because I think it's pretty bad for them, but yeah, let me know what y'all think, and I'm gonna get up out of here. All right, y'all, I'm out. Peace.